Hey, what's up, everybody? Ryan from the Music Farm here. I just got done recording some drums with my buddy Luke. We are recording a cover of Lagwagon's Know It All for a Fat Records comp tribute that the studio's putting out. And before I get into my drum editing, I have to do some basic processing using Sound Radix Auto Align 2 and Oxford Drum Gate. By doing this now, it's going to not only give my drums a lot more punch and a lot more clarity, but it's going to save me a ton of time down the road when it comes to editing with Beat Detective and converting my shells to MIDI with Massey DRT. So let's get into it, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. All right, so let's take a listen to the drums that we have now with all the processing turned off, and then we'll be able to hear what Auto Align's going to do a lot better. So let's just hit play and take a listen. If I get my cursor in there. All right, so, basic punk beats, good sounding tones. I got a new kick drum mic, an Radix D6 that I borrowed from my buddy Sig that I think I'm probably just going to keep because it sounds beautiful. So I'm just going to turn Auto Align on every track in my drum group. And open it up here. And as you can see, the track names are reflected inside the plugin, same as they are in Pro Tools. Everything is a mono except for the stereo room track, which I identified as a left and right. And now all I have to do is just hit play and align and let it record about 45 seconds of the audio, and it's going to do all the alignment for me. All right, that should be good enough. Hit stop, and it's going to automatically do the calculations for me. Perfect. All right, so we go over here and we look at these values under the time column. These are just the amounts that Auto Align is virtually nudging the tracks to make them in line with the snare drum. The snare drum is set to 0 because it's the anchor for the entire kit. There's a new feature in Auto Align 2, the spectral phase correction, and it's great, but I find that on really fast stuff, it can affect the transients or kind of chew them up a little bit. So I like to turn that off on my snare and my kick just to make my life a little easier down the road. So let's take a listen to what it's doing when I turn it on and turn it off. We should hear the kick and snare kind of come forward. And when Auto Align is on, and it kind of drops back in the mix when it's turned off. You may need good speakers or headphones to really hear this, though. Let's start with it off. And then turned on. You can really hear the bottom end of the kick come out. And turn it back on again. So both the kick and the snare have come forward now. All right, I like that. I'm happy with that. So I'm going to go ahead and just commit the group with just Auto Align on. One thing I want to do is I want to just double check the relation between the top and the bottom snare before I move on. And as you can see, they are nice and tight. Good. Okay. So now I just grab these committed tracks. And drag them up to my main group. And I can go ahead and delete these tracks. Oops. Come on. There we go. And now I can, what I want to do is I want to select these groups. I want to go to the end here. And you can see how it's kind of jagged ended these tracks. I want to make sure I've got them all in there before I do my commit, because I want clean ends. Beat Detective can sometimes not like it if you have choppy clips. So I do that now to save myself some headaches later. So I'm going to go ahead now and I'm going to turn Autoline off because that part is done. And now we're going to go into drum gating. I do the drum gating now because by cleaning up the tracks, it's going to make things easier for Beat Detective to identify the transients as well as Massey DRT. And it just sounds great too, especially when you gate out the toms. It's going to give the cymbals more width, and it's going to give the just the toms a bit more. It's going to give me more options when it comes to mixing the toms without all the cymbals in the track. So it's very cool. Go ahead, turn Oxford drum gate on the kick drum. And we'll just solo the kick. So there's three windows in Oxford drum gate: the detection, the decay, and the leveler. So the first thing I want to do is I want to go into detection and I want to set my level so that all my kicks are coming through, but nothing else from the bleeding track is in there, which I have right here. I want to make sure I've got kick selected down here. I'm going to go into decay. I'm going to pull this down a little bit. I'm just listening for the cymbals at the tail end of the decay. I want to make sure that we're not getting any of that there. I'm going to go into leveler, and I'm going to set this to be about -16, and leveling is at 50%, so it's going to kind of average things out, make the performance a little bit tighter, a little bit more consistent. So that's good. So now all I have to do is commit that track with just drum gate on it. Zoom in here. And you can see how it's taken out these hits in between. We have really nice, clean transients on all of these. Just getting rid of the noise. So all I do now is I kind of zoom in right about here, and I do a quick scroll through just to make sure no kick got gated out by accident. All right, that looks good. So now all I have to do is drag this track up. Delete that track. Turn drum gate off. Move on to the snare. So same thing with the kick drum, only I've got snare selected. I'm gonna hit play. Snare drums can be a little bit trickier. You want to find the snare rolls. Just like those. Make sure they're all coming through. Try a different section over here. All right, decay sounding okay. Move down a little bit. Leveler, same thing. Pull this up to about -16. Leveling 50%. Actually, I'm gonna turn it down to 25%. Luke did a really good job, and his snare performance doesn't really need that much work. I don't want to take away too much of the dynamics that he put into it. So that should be good. Go ahead, commit that. Zoom in a little bit. Nice clean, I love clean snares like that. Just quickly scroll through, make sure nothing got taken out. Nope, looks good. And same thing we did before, just drag that up, delete the track. Disable drum gate, and we're going to go on to rack tom. Rack tom has got a ton of cymbal bleed in it, so this is going to be kind of a cool example of what Oxford drum gate can do, because it does detect toms. So I'm going to hit play over here, and I shouldn't really hear much until we get around here. I think that's where the first fill comes in. Nope. I don't know, maybe Luke didn't play any rack tom. Let's just go ahead and commit it. That'll be the quickest way to just find out. Yeah, it doesn't look like he played any rack tom. So there we go. So what we've done is we just gated out the entire rack tom, which Luke didn't play in this particular song. So go ahead, delete that. Turn that off. And last one, floor tom. There we go. I kind of just skip through and make sure all the... All right, so this is a good example of something that we can change. It's not quite getting those fast enough. You can see there's little beats in the middle. So I'm going to go ahead and turn up the sensitivity. There we go. You can see it got that beat that it was missing. My only complaint about this plugin is that this is hidden down here. I would like this to be out. So if anybody from Oxford Drumgate is watching, please consider that on your next update. All right, so that one sounded like we caught a snare drum. We did. So I'm going to go ahead and click this. We're going to unlearn that hit. No, it's still in there. Okay, so that means it's the transient setting that's not working. Pull this down a little bit. Nope. Just have to zoom in closer. I think that got it. No. All right. That one's just stuck in there. We'll deal with that later. That was good. It's good. Sounded all right. Good. Yeah, those are good. All right, so now we can go ahead and leave the decay where it is. Bump these down to 16, and we are going to crank this up because I want these to be really consistent. And commit that track. And okay, you can see we got a few parts where the gate opened where it's not supposed to. That's easy enough to fix. We're just going to go ahead and delete those. We'll just take a quick look at what we've got. Yeah, that's good. There, this is the one that I couldn't get that snare hit out of, so we'll just manually Get that out of there. All right, so now take that, move that up, delete, turn off Oxford drum gate. Here's what our drums sound like now. So with the gate on there, I can already hear, especially when he was playing that ride bell, I could really hear that nice and clearly because we weren't having tons of leakage from the toms and the kick and snare. So it's giving the cymbals more, I don't want to say articulation, but just more definition, I guess. Let's turn on all the processing. This is just what I came up with while we were working, not the final mix. But they do sound nice. All right, and here's what our phase aligned and gated drums sound like with our processing turned on. Nice snappy drum, kick and snare. And more definition on the kit as a whole because I've eliminated so much leakage with the drum gate. So I'm really happy with that now. So I'm going to re-engage my group. I'm going to select everything and I'm going to commit those tracks. And that is it. These tracks are now ready for my editing, which I'll do first. And then I will convert the kick and snare to MIDI with Massey DRT. I'll show you that one in a different video though. So that's it for now. Have a good one.